When you walk up to the vehicle with the key, it does have the full proximity key system, but it doesn't do anything when you approach the vehicle with the key. It senses the key and allows you access to the vehicle, but it's not gonna do anything. Hitting the unlock button will turn on the light here on the handle right here. So there's a little bit of light there. The interior lights turn on, but there's still no exterior lights that turn on. Even opening up the door will not turn on exterior lights. Now this is, I think, is a little bit of a safety issue. I wish I had some kind of exterior lights on just to alert other drivers that there is, you know, a passenger getting in, entering and exiting the vehicle, that kind of thing. Here on the headlight switch, it has a position over here that if you hold it to this 0 like that, it'll turn off the exterior lights. So now the exterior lights are turned off, and we can actually move the vehicle with the exterior lights off. Now if we go over here to turn them back on, we can do that, but you do have to hold it over here to turn off the exterior lights. Now the rear fog lights are controlled with the center button right here. We'll get to that in a second. These parking lights are pretty bright, and you might mistake those for headlights actually. And let's go ahead and turn the brightness down. And they're kind of accent lights as well. That's going the wrong way. Okay. You can see they're really nice looking. It has these 3 kind of loops there underscoring the actual headlights, which we'll turn on in a second. But yeah, these are nice and bright. They're definitely visible to other drivers. But once again, they could potentially be mistaken for headlights sometimes. There's also an amber side marker here in the front as well. There's a red side marker here in the back, and the tail lights kind of wrap around to the side of the vehicle a little bit to kind of help out with the visibility as far as other cars seeing you anyway. And the tag light shines on the ground a little bit. But the tail lights are red. You know, they look a little bit orangey on camera, but they are red color. The turn signal here in the front, basically it just dims down those white lights and then shines a really bright amber light instead. So it's really bright. So it's the same exact white light, the same place where the white lights are, it's just amber here. There is also a side marker or turn signal indicator here on the side mirror. You see it from the front, the side, and the back. And the turn signal here in the back is basically, it fills in that center part of this tail light, but it's red. It's the same color, but it's a little bit, it's bright. Don't get me wrong, it's very bright, but it's basically could potentially be mistaken as a brake light. And there's another light that might be mistaken as a brake light, and that is the rear fog lights. They turn on both sides, and they're very bright. It's really good and handy for fog and, you know, snow and stuff like that. But, you know, it's all red and everything is kind of in the same housing. So usually the use of amber for the turn signal could help out a little bit better, in my opinion. The third brake light is in the base of the rear glass, and the reverse lights are integrated into the tail lights along with the fog lights, and the fog lights are red as well. Rear fog lights. Okay, so you can see quite a bit of light on the ground just from the parking lights, or daytime running lights basically. And so let's go ahead and turn on the headlights so you can see the difference. So you can see that difference there. This is quite a bit brighter. Even though the other ones are bright enough to potentially be mistaken as headlights, these are definitely a big difference here. And we're gonna look at it going down the road, because there's a little bit of an issue here with this. Maybe it's just this vehicle, the adjustment or something for the low beam. So we'll look at it going down the road. So yeah, so now we still have those white lights around, but they are dimmer. Those daytime running lights, they're much dimmer now. And then you have this outer headlight that turns on, which is a projector LED headlight, that outer portion there. And it looks like multiple LEDs in the same projector. That explains kind of the width. And the cutoff is very low. So if I step back here and I dip down like so, I can all the way down here, and you can see one side is a little bit more than the other. So I have to go way down here to like 1 foot off the ground before both lights shine on the camera. So right here looking at the camera, it's not blinding me at all. So you have to really get low for these headlights to blind you. Okay, so let's go to the high beams. So there's the low beams, there's the high beams, and once again we'll go look at it going down the road, in a dark road here. And so now the high beams are an additional light that shines. So you can see, and turn the brightness down here. And let me, yeah, I'm gonna just go super low on the camera here so you can see what I'm talking about. There's a second light there as well. So it kind of adds that additional projector system to the original one. And then the inner portion just basically not illuminates anything. It's just there for looks, I guess. So yeah, the high beams fill in additional light. So I like when vehicles have additional light instead of the same housing trying to, you know, refocus the same light. This the high beams are, you'll see they're pretty decent. The trunk light is, you can see right here, there's two of them, one on each side, but they're not very bright. So there's one there and one there, and they're kind of in that more forward position, which leaves a lot of dark areas over here, and also if you have stuff in the way, it just kind of casts shadows. So even though it has two lights, still on the poor side, really, the way they implemented them, you know, it's okay, it's not bad really. I mean, it's not super bad, but it's just that if you have two lights in a black trunk, I don't know if maybe they were brighter or angled a little bit better, or maybe here on the sides or something. There's something about it that just makes it very frustrating for me to use, you know, my equipment and stuff here. But that's not really what this vehicle's about, so it's not really a big deal in this particular vehicle. But it's just one of those things where a lot of vehicles have just poor lighting in the trunk or cargo areas. The inside of the back door, it actually does have a puddle light, so you can see the light shining on the ground from under the door there. It looks like a halogen bulb. But it does have a puddle light, which is great. So now you'll know what you're stepping in when you get out of the vehicle. There's also a light here in the right there to indicate where the window is, and there's the door lock control there. And then there's a light here on the handle, which is very subtle, but hopefully you can see it there. The lights here in the back are coming from the center here, two of them. And they do a decent job. Considering we have black interior, it doesn't reflect a lot of light. I think it's not too bad. Then there's some backlit buttons here for the heated seats and the USB ports. The inside of the front door, once again, we have a puddle light, which is great. There's a light in this compartment right here, kind of hard to see, but it does have one there. In the handle, door lock controls, these are all backlit right in here as well. There is a very subtle light in the floorboard, and I'll show you that when we get inside. The lights here in the front are coming from the center once again, and they mostly illuminate there in the lap area, but there is a little kind of secret light that helps out in this area right here, and I'll show you that in a second. So I have the interior lights on, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat, and looking pretty good, not too bad. Let's go ahead and turn off the interior lights, and it fades out, and we're left with some very subtle backlights. So here in the door, there's a light, and then there's a very, very subtle, it's really hard to tell, light in the floorboard. So I don't know if you can see my foot there, because I got black shoes on today. But yeah, there is a subtle light in the glove in the floorboard. There is a light in the glove compartment, and you can see the backlit buttons over here on the door. You can really barely see this light here in the door, but it does have one in that pocket, and the backlit buttons here. There's even a subtle light here on the handles. Here to the left of the steering column has some buttons there. Steering wheel itself is kind of a mixed bag here. Some stuff is illuminated, some stuff's not. So let me turn on the interior lights here so you can see. You can see this, the button you're going to use all the time for the cruise control is not illuminated. The scroll wheel here is not illuminated. But you know, starting the vehicle button is, so that's nice. The screen right here looks fantastic. Since it's a screen, usually it looks pretty good. And there's the screen here. I got the brightness turned up a little bit high here so you can see some of these subtle lights. But there's that screen here. Let me go ahead and put it in reverse so you can see the camera. Pretty lame camera really, but it's alright. You can see a little bit. It gives you a little bit of help there. Let me turn the brightness back up, because there's some subtle lights right in here that really do help out. There's a, I don't know if you can see, there's a pocket right in here, down here, that's not illuminated, but there's some lights above here just illuminating stuff. But that pocket not being illuminated is not very good. So there's a shifter. You have these different buttons here. That's good. But you'll notice it's kind of hard to tell because the parking lot has some lights. But right here is a light. Right here. You see that shining on my hand with these other buttons up here at the top. That light really helps out right here in this area when it's super dark, especially in this compartment. So when I lift up this compartment, that is the only light. You can see that my camera is casting a shadow there in the center because that's the only light. But it actually does a decent job if you have stuff in here. So, you know, even though this center compartment doesn't have a light, it does have that light that shines in it, which is cool. Then there's some backlit buttons here for the USB-C, USB-A, and auxiliary inputs here. So you can find them. Pretty good. All right, so we saw the buttons up here. The visor has a HomeLink garage door opener control that's not illuminated. And then the visor has a single light with the mirror, which is kind of bright. There's the headlight pattern on the fence. There's the high beams, there's the low beams. And you'll notice there's a little bit of a dip there on the left side. This dip or notch is intended to be lined up with the oncoming traffic lane. And so we'll see that I think this particular vehicle needs to be aligned properly. So I'll show you on the road what's going on. It's a little bit too low, I think. But I turned off the automatic high beams because they are very poor and they're flashing cars, and you know, it could be pitch black in front of me and then you just decide to go to low beams and it's really hard to get it to go back to high beams. So I just turned it off. You know, just so you know that automatic high beams are just a problem, at least with this particular vehicle anyway. All right. Okay, so with the low beams, you'll notice that shadow. You notice it's like really close to the vehicle. It's like 30 feet, 20 or 30 feet in front of the vehicle. It is where the shadow is. And it's half in my lane and half in the other lane. So it looks like it's just an alignment problem, at least with one of the headlights, because it seems like one is a little bit higher, one is a little bit lower, like we saw before when I dipped down showing you the headlight pattern. So yeah, it's intent. The perfect alignment would be that shadow is only on the oncoming lane and not on my lane, and then both of them are even. So you know, that's what it's supposed to look like. So this one is just a little bit different. So even then, it's still, since it's a low vehicle, it has a low cutoff. So the lights don't project that far on the road, you know, really. But it does give us lights here on the side, and you know, it's not really that bad, all things considered. Especially when you consider how well the headlights, the high beam headlights work. So they kind of make up for it. Yeah, wish this vehicle was properly aligned so I can show you what it looks like in that, you know, when it's the way it's designed to look like anyway. Okay, so we still got the low beams. You can see the car there. All right, so let me go ahead and turn on the high beams here so you can see. They're actually pretty good. Now, since they're adding to the low beams, you know, if the low beams were better, then of course, then the high beams would even be better too. But you can see the trees in the distance. You can see the all the way there on the sides of the road. It has a good projection down the road. I mean, the distance is great. And so yeah, the high beams are significantly better than the low beams. So you can see that. You can really get some good visibility with these high beams.